Hi everybody. This launch. I've got 4 new stamps out. The stamp lines at the top. 4 of the background stencils, large and small. Somebody's whipped this one of the small flowers, I'm afraid. The large stencils are slightly different to the small, so the inners are the same, but the borders are slightly different. I've got my journal, which has gone unbelievably. We've brought out a smaller pocket version as well. So I think this retails at $14.99, whereas the big one is $24.99. So it's exactly the same with the envelope, exactly the same style. So I've brought that. And the thing I'm most excited about is my ink pad. This is a blank pad because you know how I don't like things regimented. I like things very variegated and mottled. And they tried to make me an ink pad, and every time they made me an ink pad that was different colours, it started off fine and then it ended up as one colour, because the colours, the more you saturate them, the more they bled together. So it took us ages to work it out, and so what we've done is we've done the blank pad and then you ink it yourself. So here, these are some from yesterday. You can see that one has got pink, purple and red. We've got, at home I have about 12, but I'm thinking customers might buy 1 or 2, because you can wash these out, because you only put a bit of ink in at a time. If you want to change them, you just put this under the tap until it rinses out clear, and then you can put other colours on. So, but I've been testing them for ages, so I've got lots. And what you do is you start with your blank one, and the best thing to do is add water, because this is a dry piece of foam. So if you add ink straight away, it'll just puddle on the top. It won't go through. So if you just add some water like so, and then with your finger, just give it a hand to either wander off, or just give it a hand like this to just get some ink down into the foam. And then when you put your ink on, it will spread straight away. Okay. The pad itself is better the more you use it. The first time you use it, it hasn't had time to season, so you have to use it, and then all of a sudden it works really well. So we'll do a greeny one. We'll have some green and blue, and yeah, we'll have this yellow. So I ink it exactly the same as I ink my anything I'm doing, whether I'm inking a book, whether I'm inking a tag. The only thing that I'm not worried about, but I think people might think it's an orange pad, because I had to choose something for the label. Now, if I'd have put all the colours on the label, people would have thought you could have put all the colours on here. And really, you can only put 3 colourways on, otherwise it turns just to mud. So I hope people don't buy it thinking, well, it's an orange pad, because they're all orange. And of course, we couldn't have brought out all the combinations that they've bought. So I start with one of the colours. I always start with the lightest. I think if you work light to dark, you've got more scope. If you put dark on and you put too much, then it's a struggle. So I just add some ink to 2 areas, then I'm going to add some of the next colour. This is going to be a bright pad, and then add some more. Can you see how the darker one takes over? Now, I don't know if you can see where it's just at the moment, you can still see all the separate things because it's just sat there. So I always go over it again with the lighter ones and just get it to blend in. So the more you use it, I would use the ink that's on here, and then I would re-ink it, then I would use the ink, then I would re-ink it. When you buy an ink pad, like this, it's absolutely saturated with ink. It's saturated, it's pressed, it's compressed, there's so much ink in. There's only the ink that you're actually putting on. So if I suddenly decide, oh, I don't want those colours, I wanted red, if I wash them out, there's only that little bit going to come out. Do you see what I mean? So when you ink it, you can't help but do this, but you just clean it up with a spare tag, of always. Which, that's one of the first things that I usually do with an ink pad, is I normally, to get it going, I will turn it over, I will press it down onto the mat, like so, spritz it, because it helps spread it through there, spritz it, and then just do this. Just take, so you've got my colours, but you've got them in a lot paler, a paler way of doing them. Okay, so that's how one of the ways you can use them. I just wanted people, lots of people have got the inks, and I wanted them to be able to know how to use them in lots of other ways as well, lots of different ways. So they're only buying the pad because they've already got the inks. One of my favourite ways of stamping is with the stamping. This is what I originally wanted it for. So as a background stamp, because I like a really varied look. So what you can do is you can take your stamp, and I'm just going to start over in this corner, and then I'm just going to come down in a zigzag. Can you see how you get the variegated look? That's what I was after, but every time we did it in a pad, the blue would take over. So I usually come back to the same spot for a while, and I work myself down the background that I'm doing, and then I change position, so I'll come over here. So you get a really, whoops, oh, sorry about that. You get a really varied look to your stamping, which you wouldn't get. You couldn't get that from a pad, from a normal ink pad. You can either leave it like that, or you could take a baby wipe and spritz it, because obviously my inks are reactive with water. And again, you could leave it like that to blend a little bit, or you could take a baby wipe and you can just blend the backgrounds in as well. So there's some here, there's some in the green, some of the brown, some of the pink, and you can see there how that's one where I just added some of the stencils on the top, so it comes through from underneath. So you either get it very crisp, or you can have it with this blended look. And again, I don't clean the pad. Have I just cleaned that? Did I just clean that without thinking? Right, well, normally I don't clean the pad. I just come over and I just stamp it off on something else, or in my journal or anything like that, and you still get this nice crisp edge on. Another thing I like to do is to actually take the pad itself. I'm going to do it with the small tag, but you can do it with any of the large tags, and you just place the tag on and just press, because not everybody wants the really smooth look that you get when you spray, when I spray. So I put it on like that, I just leave it so that some of it soaks in, and then I just gently polish it. But you can still see some of the texture on there, so you still get the blended ink look. That's good. That was a little bit too juicy actually. Let's try another one. So when they're dry, there we go. Can you see? So if you just let some of the ink settle in a little bit, and then give it a polish, and then you'll still see this texture going in there. Some of you used it in the class. Did you like it? Did you like it in the class? You used it in the class, yeah. But when you first used it in the class, it was new, so it's harder. I want you to use it again when you get home, and then you just keep on using this. And when I can come back to this one, I can just add a little bit of texture on this one as well. And when it runs, you know, there's not a lot coming out, then you re-ink it and you use it again. This, if you leave this, say a week, 10 days, you won't get any ink out of it, because this is not airtight, and it will evaporate. But you just add your ink on the top again, so you just re-ink them. So these were yesterday, and you can see where it doesn't look as juicy on these. So I would just take the colours that I used yesterday, which were lime, the Dirty Martini, and the and you know, you could write on the lids what they are. I just remember because I can tell with the different colours, but you just juice it up again. And anything that's left on here, like I say, you just take a tag, you just wipe it up with your book, ready to go again. I forgot what I was going to say. I'm really sorry. It's just my brain. When they turned that on, I went, woo, squirrels. And it's just, you know, ready, off to go again. So I love them. I've been using them a lot. You can stamp them on top. You could even stamp, this could be stamped on top of existing, and you can still see it. Because the inks are translucent and layer up, you'll still get some of the different varied colours over. So the more you play with it, the more it will come and see. I just think it's really useful, because you can get that varied look, you know, without the normal. And people are like, ooh, how did you do that? Now, I know you can put ink on here, you can spray ink on the mat and you can ink it, but it's really drippy. It's really drippy. So when you lift it and go to put it on, it just spreads everywhere. So I'll just put that up there. The other thing is, some people say, well, it's gone all over there, it's a bit of a mess on the pad. But they can either take the water brush and they can pick this up and they can paint with it onto something else, you know, so they can paint things in. But what I normally do is I take the I just take a baby wipe. I'm terrible. I just use whatever's around me. I think it's because when I used to be in the studio, if I got up to get something, Ben would give me a job. So I'd just stay and I just use whatever's around. So you can pick up the ink on here and you can transfer these onto the journal pages as well. And we were doing this yesterday and people were like, well, it's just making a mess. Well, it is, but by the time you finish it, it isn't. And it's just what you would have had on the baby wipe and you would have thrown away. So you see, so you can add, because this is still damp, it's blending slightly to start with. You see? So when it's wet, it will blend, and when it's dry, it will stay crisp, just like this. The other thing I do a lot as well is I just go like this into the lid, or I go into here, and then I'll just add circles on my work, on my tags. I suppose I should do it on a tag really, because you're like, oh, why has she got circles on that? But, and you can get these, you know, look, the multicoloured circles. I've gone green. Oh, I use anything. I use anything. I'd use my teacup, but I know I'm going to spill my tea. So, oh, I'm sorry. That's me. Oh, I'm going to get into trouble now. Let me just turn that off. Sorry. You won't tell. Thank you. Oh, it's on. So yeah, I use anything. I'll use a teacup. I'll just use whatever's there for large rings, small rings, anything like that. Let's add some of this paint on, then you can see what it looks like through. So I'm going to take one of the couture stencils. Have been flying. They've gone really, really well. I don't know what you've thought about them, but we've been having a lot of success with them. So you can just. This is Tim. Yeah, this is Tim's. No, this is Tim's Distress. I use anything. This is more fluid, so it's a bit quicker. So I'm just going to pop her through there, and then I normally just spritz this with water and add it onto something else. So when I've finished with this, I will just add something else on and build. This is what I do all the time, onto another tag, onto another journal. You've got to clean it, so you might as well clean it onto something. You know, that's how I think. And then with the couture stencils, you also got the inners. So this time I'm just going to put the inner on over here. And this time I'm just going to go around her. Never be frightened of using black on top of your colours, because that's how you make them pop. Oops. I'm just going to soften it off. And then it just makes the other colours pop as well. Can you see? And then when that's dry, I will outline it. I'm just going to spritz this. And then I do all my edging of my tags. I do on, come back to that one, on here. So I just take, so you can see your edge, you get all the different colours coming out as well. So I spend many happy hours. I just think, you know, if you have this.
We're 8:15, so we get like 5 minutes to wrap it up and get them to the next station.
Okay, no problem. To me, if you've got something, you need to be able to use it in as many different ways as possible. And I want people not to look at this as an ink pad, but to look at this as a tool. It's a tool either to, you know, to do inking, to do your stamping, to do your all over colour, anything like that. And it's just, I just like the fact that I can have this varied look. I don't like just a blue, just a, you know, I like people to go, oh, how did she do that? And then when you show them how easy it is, that's what I like. Things that don't look easy that are really, really easy. So, any questions on the pad?